This came from Dr. Michael Mash, and he shares a story about one of his patients here. He spent 4 hours hanging Christmas lights overhead, and the next morning he could barely move his arm. He got an MRI. It showed a rotator cuff tear. But here's the thing. Many people his age have similar tears for years without pain. While it's tempting to blame the lights for causing the tear, the more likely cause was a sudden spike in activity his shoulder was not prepared for. This is not to say surgery is never needed. Sometimes we do find something that truly needs to be repaired. But often the damage was already there, and what the person really needs is a solid rehab plan. Modify activity to calm things down, progressively load to build capacity and confidence. That's how we help get people back to activities they love. A couple other spots in the post here. So he mentioned the 4 hours of hanging Christmas lights. The next day his shoulder was killing him. The MRI showed a rotator cuff tear, and he was convinced he had just wrecked his shoulder. But what actually happened is something every fitness and rehab pro needs to understand. This was a past patient that really stuck out to him. Up until that day, the patient had no shoulder pain, but 4 hours with his arm overhead was far more than his shoulder had been used to handling. That sudden jump in workload was the turning point. Next morning, his shoulder was sore and stiff, couldn't lift his arm. MRI revealed the rotator cuff tear, and so he naturally assumed hanging the lights caused it. The reality is that many people his age have rotator cuff tears for years without any pain. His tear was probably there long before the Christmas lights. It just happened to show up on the MRI. The real cause of his pain was probably not the cuff tear itself. It was doing far more than his shoulder was ready for in one day. As PTs, we tend to see this situation quite often. Patient performs an activity that exceeds their capacity, pain arises, they get an MRI, they find a tear or damage, and assume that the activity caused the tear. But in reality, they just did too much, too fast, too soon. This is where we can make a huge difference. By reframing the story, we can help people see that pain after a big spike in activity is not always because of physiological damage. It is often a load management issue. With the right plan, progressive loading, and realistic expectations, we can help them rebuild trust in their bodies. We can teach them that many MRI findings are just common age-related changes. Activity modification can help calm things back down, and a targeted rehab can build the capacity they need to get back to the activities they love without fear. I just felt like that was such a powerful story to, one, illustrate my point, and two, to show people that pain is not always associated with a specific anatomical issue. Images are images. They don't always tell the story like many people expect it to. It might be a character in the book, but people mistake it for the main character or the only character.